Really?
That's not good results.
Ogo has a gentle speaking voice.
Well, I know.
On YouTube on.
On YouTube.
It's in. Takes a good trouble.
Nairametrics, creating wealth through information.
Smooth 98.1, love music, love life. If you just joined us, this is the perfect time to be a part of our conversation. This is Freshly Pressed 981, where we take you through detailed analysis of stories making rounds in the dailies this morning. And as always, leading us through conversations, we have two gentlemen in the studio. First, we have Justin EJ. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning, people. Good morning, Kai.
Good to have you here. I was going to ask about Valentine's, but then again, I don't know.
Please
It's
don't.
been overkill.
No, don't.
And also, we've got Wade in the studio this morning. Good morning, Wade.
Good morning, everyone.
All right. Lagos, you can be a part of our conversation as always. Reach out to us on WhatsApp 0809-444-0981. And also, we're streaming live on YouTube. So it's youtube.com/smooth981fm. And also, we're also live on Twitter. Use the hashtag freshlypressed981. Don't forget, Smooth Breakfast is brought to you by Shoko Martins and Kai Baker. And let's dive on to our first story. So this one comes to you, Justin. It's from this day newspaper. It's quite an interesting one. It says the NDLEA, DCP Alakari and four others are now in our custody. This is according to the NDLEA. Now, to put a background to this, a few hours after he was declared wanted by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, that's the NDLEA, over alleged illicit drug links, suspended DCP, that's Abba Kyari, has been handed, by the police to the Anti-Narcotics Agency. What are your thoughts about this?
They run riots, my brother. The thoughts run riots. From when I saw the first, when the story broke yesterday, I was like, okay, what is going on here? And I believe most people are caught up, but just to recap, right? So our Super Cup, who has been, sliding down from, this one is not a fall now, this one is a slide. Because first there was the hush puppy link, the FBI went after him, they've asked Nigeria to extradite him. Just a few days ago, there were headlines about, finally there's a formal extradition request. Everybody was thinking, okay, maybe it's high time he boarded that flight, right? And then boom, yesterday, breaking news, NDLEA in a very, very unusual, public display, releases a press statement, calls a press conference, puts up a big screen and puts up this video of him in conversation. That video reminded me of the Kanu video, where the one that we didn't understand the technology with which it was made. But, moving on to... So, today, they're now telling us that after the NDLEA declared him wanted, which, again, was an eyebrow-raising kind of comment to read, because how are you declaring somebody wanted who is a serving force member, yes, supposed to be on suspension, but the man is not he's not an unknown quantity. He's not on the run. So why the public display is what my thoughts really centered around. What could be going on here? Because you could simply send a signal to the IGP and they would hand him over to you. So, it begins to, we're prone to conspiracy theories, even though that's not news. But you can't help but wonder what's going on. Is the NDLEA, and this is pure conjecture, by the way, this is not news, people, is the NDLEA trying to ward off pressure because, hey, this is a high profile person, right? You can't, he's not a mean man by any standard. So is it possible that in order to avert pressure to kill the matter, make it a family matter, they put it out in the public, so nobody can now come and say, and then people want to know where is it going. And then if you were reading social media reactions, people are saying, oh no, people are lying, this is just so that you were extraditing to the US. There's all sort of chatter going on social media about what could possibly be going on. But for me, it's a case of go and get your popcorn and your cola of choice. Take a seat and let's enjoy the ride.
All right. We'll see where this goes. Don't forget, your messages still come to 0809
All right, so our next story comes in from the Punch newspaper. Boko Haram and others recruited over 8,000 child soldiers in 13 years. This, according to UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, which we now heard from the chief of the Maiduguri field office, Fonti Nguyen, who said for 13 years, armed conflict in northeast Nigeria has claimed thousands of lives, disrupted livelihoods, and access to essential services for children and their families. Now, Wade, I'm coming to you for this. I mean, this is not, it would. It's safe to say that it is not a surprise, but it still begs the question with the amount of attacks that we've seen on schools, with the number of children who are currently out of school and are internally displaced, are we at the risk of a lost generation of, especially in the Northeast? What would you say?
Well, this is not only unique to Nigeria. Anyway, you have war. Some of the greatest
I mean,
casualties.
take a look at what Yemen
When you look
over
at
the past few
yeah,
years.
when you look at Sierra Leone, Liberia, what is happening in Congo, what happened in Rwanda. At the end of the day, what usually happens is that a lot of children, one way or the other, they've lost their parents or they're just astray. So where do you go? You go to the next comfort where you can get a meal a day or a few meals a day, and before you know what's happening, you're recruited into the system, and it, it speaks a lot about what we're doing in terms of even those that we're looking at in terms of helping to manage the war, and all those who have gone into the IDPs, how we providing education for them, how we reorienting them to come back into the system. Because what you find out is at the end of the day, still no food, still no shelter. They go back to where they have comfort, and this is usually the thing with wars. Wars are they're horrible, and some of the greatest impacts of war on children. And so
Everybody
this is
loses.
The most vulnerable.
yeah, and so this is really not new, because we've seen it all over West Africa. We've seen it in Africa. It's still happening. In Congo, it's happening. In Liberia and Sierra Leone, you find a lot of young men today whose arms were amputated, whose legs were amputated because they were child soldiers who fought for one side or the other, and it's just a shame, really.
Now, we've heard from the federal government, from the president, who said that we should expect in the next 18 or so months for more of the towns and villages in the affected areas to be recovered and given back to the residents so that we can have less IDPs who have been IDPs for years now, and so that there can be a return to normalcy. Do you see that happening?
We hope it happens, but we haven't seen it in the last 6 years, and so I really don't know. And we haven't seen since this war started with Boko Haram. The biggest casualties have been kids, the Chibok girls that were kidnapped, students, children who were kidnapped from schools all over the north.
Yes.
And you see the impact today. 8,000 children have been willingly or unwillingly, coerced into this war, and they've become child soldiers. And it's really sad. Will it happen in 18 months? I don't think so, and I don't believe it will.
Well, the Avengers might show up. You never know.
All right, guys. Don't forget, we're streaming live on YouTube as well. So let's hear your thoughts on our YouTube platform. It's youtube.com/smooth981fm. Let's move on to our next story. Let's talk about really a trendy story. It's from the Vanguard newspaper. It talks about bad fuel. So inland depots yet to receive clean petrol, says the Independent Petroleum Markets Association of Nigeria. Also, they disclosed that no inland depot. They disclosed basically that marketers are at this point in time asking for compensation, amongst other things, really. And it begs the question: when is this problem, coming to an end?
Really, I think it should come to an end in the next couple of weeks. And the reason why I say that is this: those marketers who have already collected the petrol have to evacuate them, or you need to get enough petrol.
They are being asked to blend.
That's what I'm saying.
the
Or you
new
need to get
shipment
more
in a 1 to 2 parts
Yes, so
ratio.
you need to get more petrol to blend
Is
it.
it easy? I mean, does that make any sense?
So shot in the dark, and
And
it's
it
it's
could
crazy.
turn out well, and it could
Ideally, you
turn
should
out
evacuate, quarantine the tanks, clean
clean
them,
them
put
and
in new products.
yeah.
Or what people are being told is
get more product.
get 2 parts for every 1 part of bad
However,
product you have, and
the
mix
thing,
it and sell it, and let's see what happens.
yeah, but however, the thing about it is this: most of the depots or most of the petrol retail stations, what you do is you buy your fuel, you sell, you get money, and then you buy more.
Okay.
And that's where the challenge is. So you can't even pay for new products of 2 to 1, and that's why you're having this now. In terms of the inland depots like Port Harcourt, Calabar, it will take a bit of time, because the first things you want to do first, you bring it into Lagos. You have to load the trucks who have been waiting for days and weeks to take the products out. How can you do it? If you can get Lagos to become a bit sanitized, then everybody takes their eyes off whether there's fuel scarcity
Yes.
in other parts, and that is also another issue. And do you? And the third thing is for me is this: do you even have enough products?
Now, if the marketers can't afford this, is there going to be some type
There
of
should
compensation?
be some relief package, and it's not even relief per se, because it's not like they're profiting off it. You're just relieving them of the burden of having to solve a national crisis out of their own pocket, because people paid money for products that were, to all intents and purposes, certified and approved by the relevant government agencies to be supplied to them. Turns out product was bad, and now they've been more or less left out in the cold. Go solve the
Don't know how
problem.
to do their problems
Yeah.
themselves. All right, I got a few messages on our WhatsApp platform. We're going to get to those messages. In fact, we got a lot of messages. This one here says, "Good morning, everyone. The NDLEA in the address did mention that Abba Kyari was invited and he declined the invitation. So why won't the NDLEA declare him wanted?" This is Adibara Ajuwon from Ajumo, basically. And also, Cisco Delgado comes in. He says, "The case of the DCP, that's Abba Kyari, is very funny. I know the man didn't run away or traveled outside Nigeria. So why declare him wanted? If Abba Kyari is a member of the drug kingpins between Europe, Brazil, and Nigeria, then other notable persons must be involved too."
This one in from Idi says, let the federal government tell Nigerians the truth about the right time to expect availability of fuel, because as I'm seeing it, fuel will not be available till next month. The imported bad fuel would have to be eliminated first, facilities flushed, before new fuel will be available. And Chica says this Abakiari is super versatile. Accomplished super cop in the morning, semi-accomplished tailor in the afternoon, semi-accomplished cybercrime in the evening, and super accomplished drug cartel at night. So sad that what Nigeria has been hailing as a super cop is nothing but a super criminal.
Super villain.
Jerry comes in to say Habakari has shown that the calibers of people in this administration, there are more of them basically. They're the reasons for the present economic hardships Nigerians are passing through. All right, thank you so much, Jerry. We see messages up on our YouTube platform. We'll get to those messages as well, and also on Twitter. But let's move on to our next story real quick.
Yes, from the Vanguard newspaper, strike, people. ASU is insincere, says the federal government. Justin, I'm going to ask questions about this. Now, we heard from the federal government on Monday, which accused the Academic Staff Union of Universities of being insincere in its claim on the reason for the declaration of their 1 month warning strike, which came about late yesterday morning. Now, the federal government described the purported strike as an illegal leave, which should be called off immediately. And we heard from the Minister of Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, who said, and I'm going to quote, "The President has directed me with the Minister of Education and Chief of Staff to liaise with NIREC, and so we are in communication with their secretariats and the Sultan himself. They have held 2 meetings with ASU, and which they told them to give them a chance to look into the matter fully, and I have equally briefed them on the situation of things where the government group is. So I don't know how ASU has now declared a strike and called it a warning strike. There is nothing like a warning strike." Justin, you have the floor.
You know, I like Mr. Ngige a lot. I followed the trajectory of his career, and I mean, he holds several notable records. I mean, this is about the only guy who I know as a second governor who was kidnapped. And his cynicism is almost a virtue. He's been The one negotiating with ASU since this administration started in what year? 2015. He's been in charge of this. And the issue has become intractable under his watch. And he can still say things like what he's saying to them now. Oh, it's not a strike. They give themselves leave. You're being cavalier with something that is so core to the future of this country, the education of the future leaders of this country, the children of this country. You're being cavalier. You're being making these off the cuff comments. And I just wonder, the core of the issue here is, and I'm not a fan of ASU. Anybody who listens to the show and has heard me talk about knows I'm not a fan of ASU because they have, but that's a conversation for another day. But you are the Minister for Education. You have been entrusted with negotiating with these people this issue that started in 2009. Granted, before your administration, you have now had how many years? 6, going on 7, to deal with it. And today we are still talking about this is, as the quoting this article now, the Ministry of Education has set up a group to look at the renegotiation of the 2009 agreement as it concerns the conditions of service, salaries, and welfare packages of workers. Oga, in 2015, this was the problem.
Now,
why are we setting up a committee today?
Justin, I'm going to ask about ASU's role in this and whether or not you think they're the creators of their own downfall at this point. Because if we've got this agreement, which is still in contention over a decade after it was made,
ASU,
what do you expect to see from ASU regarding this? Because we keep seeing the this threat of strike, warning strikes, and so on and so forth. Does it get to a point where we're just living out the boy who cried wolf?
yes and no.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, ASU, the conversation about ASU is related, but we can have a full show about ASU and their own shooting themselves in the foot.
Don't you worry, we will.
They have a penchant for shooting themselves in the foot, and it boils down to the kind of human beings that are manning these organizations, whether I'm talking about the minister or whether I'm talking about ASU itself and the individual lecturers and co. Because remember, hey, these are the crop of people that we usually get in INEC, and our elections are celebrated for their, virtue.
The way they are.
Yeah. So ASU itself plays itself. You wait, you go on these strikes as a matter of fashion now, and then you wait for the eve of an election year, and then you start going on you start threatening strikes again. The last time they went on this, I think it was Cheta and I that were on the show that day. One day we talked about ASU, and I'm like, look, if you're going to go on this strike, just go.
And
Because I
don't
don't
come
even know which value people are adding to the education system really. So just shut it down and fight this fight once and for all. But no, it's become a playing card now, right? To you whip it out during election cycles to hold the government
Accountable.
it's not even accountability, just
to ransom.
cheap blackmail as far as I'm concerned, because you've cheapened it to that point. And then they come and Mr. Ngike will sit down with you, give you some nuggets, give you some crumbs, and say, okay, you should just go back to work. Let's finish it. We'll deal with it. Everybody's concerned with election. We'll deal with it, but have this small, palliative now. And then you people who, after keeping children at home for God knows how long, you go back, and then we wait for another election cycle, and you people come again. See,
Oh wow, questions. If you want to be a part of our talk, don't forget you can reach out to us on all platforms, which is first WhatsApp 0809444091. On Twitter, please use the hashtag freshlypressed981. And we see messages already. We're tackling the situation on YouTube as well. It's youtube.com/smooth91fm. We'll go on a quick break. When we get back, we'll do some more talk.
Think about touching the ground.
Hey, can you guys hear us?
Money, they say, makes the world go round.
We've been sharing reports of audio issues, but it should be fixed now, yes? Yes, I think it's fixed. Let us know. Leave your comments. Oh, yes. You get to talk to YouTube during breaks. I actually like it for locker room break time. And, whenever we get a break on Freshly Pressed.
they don't give us breakfast. We want to strike. They don't give us coffee. They don't give us tea.
Don't say it.
Nothing. We're striking. Strike.
We don't recognize this illegal leave that they're trying to take.
Information you
We should go on strike for like 1 week. No analysis.
Don't try
We
smooth.
actually have Bob.
Don't try smooth. You just hear
You
You just come back.
you just
You don't have
hear
work.
MC Oloma. You just hear MC Oloma doing news analysis the next day.
Let's have them
Biometrics.com for all the information you need.
But we brought you some South African tea, rhubarb with chocolate and vanilla.
Analyst
We brought
lives
you
matter.
Earl Grey.
Analysis matter.
I brought truffles, guys. They're downstairs. We have things for you.
I'm going on strike this week.
I'll get the producer to liaise with you on that. I feel like
Put
you
on
and
the
she
black
have
eye.
a...
Okay, we're back, guys. It's still Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. If you want to catch the band, so please join us on YouTube, youtube.com/Smooth91FM Lagos. Let's get back into the stories. This one comes to you, Wade. It's from this day newspaper. It talks about the EU. They okayed 820 million euros digital economy package for Nigeria. And we talked about this on an earlier show. And I mean, there are lots of questions surrounding this. Some of them are, what does the EU want in return? Why are they doing this? Is this money enough to, see through the projects that they're looking to, plan to start here in Nigeria?
Well, one good place to start is after discussing the digital technology issue, they went to gas. You know the current impasse in Europe, Russia, Ukraine, gas pipelines.
Yes. Well, we don't know where that is going to go eventually. But
Yeah, so you start to look for alternatives.
Okay.
Nigeria has huge reserves of gas. What are the
That we're not using at all.
So what are the possibilities? Are they now going to bring in some money to say, okay, how do we get the gas? How do we ensure that we can get it out safely? What you haven't done in the last God knows how long that we've been flying the gas. Now, those are some of the things that they're probably looking at. Because what the good thing for me that jumps out here is digitalized public service. I hope that they will come down and sit together and have.
Okay, you mean that thing where public officials won't be using Yahoo email addresses?
And Gmail addresses.
All right, got you.
Yeah.
Isn't that what NEET does? Anyway.
Yeah. So maybe they'll finally partner with them and put these things
From
together.
earlier conversations, it's said that some people believe that this money is not enough. Because if you look at it, this money alone is for just infrastructure. For one state or for some local governments, it's enough to just settle for a few places, not all of Nigeria. So there's that question.
Even America itself is looking for money for infrastructure to improve its technology. So what are we talking about? Let's get something and even build some infrastructure that will carry us to the next level. We're not doing that. Nigeria doesn't have the money to do that. Even if they do, that's not their priority. So at the end of the day, will it come in handy? Yes, it will. But the question here is, in dealing with government, how transparent will this be? And will these infrastructures really come into place when they are meant to come in? Look, we've been on the Siemens, on power for the last 3 years. The man who signed the contract has died.
The thing is, when you hear things like this, you really don't have any insight. This is a lot of nice sounding words, right? But what exactly is this help? In what? And if you do an FOI request, you're probably going to get aired. So.
All right, questions still. 0809 got a message here from Cyrus who says the government knows the sponsors of Boko Haram and other terrorist groups. If they fish them out, terrorism will stop. And also, EK Peter comes in to say a certain fund was earlier released by the federal government to universities, and the senior management of one of the universities in Ebonyi State shared the money. My cousin is a lecturer and information is firsthand. Okay.
And we have this one in EK Pizza who says NDLEA going public on the Super Cup is a strategy to make it difficult for the powerful guys in government to shield him. No hiding place anymore. It's a smart move. And who is this one? Now, there's no name to this message, or is there? Let's see. Dr. Sai says, I think Nigerians should clamor for the dismissal of the GMD of the NNPC. At what point will public officers take responsibility for poor performance? And
What happened to the Minister of Petroleum?
Questions.
Which one? The minister?
Don't
state?
you know who the Minister of Petroleum is? Why are you asking me?
Real
I
quick,
know the
because of our
minister.
time, guys, let's quickly get to this next message. This one here from Cisco Dogada says, I'm sorry to say that ASU are full of... Okay, Cisco. Thank you very much for that. Very
Nice
colorful
word.
words.
Nice word, not for air.
Very colorful words.
All right, let's move on now. We have this one in from the Guardian newspaper. Reps set 3.01 trillion naira revenue target for customs. This is the House of Representatives Committee on Customs and Excise, which has set this sum as the 2022 revenue target for the Nigeria Customs Service. The committee also approved 369 billion naira as the budget for the service. And we heard from a Representative Leke Bejide, who's the chairman of the committee, who said that he said that the sum that the customs service presented, the sum of 1.465 trillion naira, which he said was low compared to the parameters of the prevailing time for their 2021 revenue target. So I'm going to ask you what you have to say about this, because now it seems like we have this agency with a quota that they have to meet in terms of revenue generation.
We spoke about it when we were talking about the budget this year, right, Mr. Sigo? Yeah. And I'm fully in support of that proposal from the current Minister of Finance that the customs service should not be given revenue targets. Service delivery in public service and revenue targets is a toxic mix, because if you task me to go and get revenue, I will create all sorts of things. And practitioners have been crying. There's entrapment, there's deliberate delays so that you pay more demurrage, so that all these things. Set the mandate of the customs very clearly, right? Set their duties out very clearly. Let the revenue target be on some other agency like the FIRS or whoever, but do not co-join the revenue mandate with what their core service delivery mandate is. It's a poisonous mix. Yes, I know we're looking for money and all that, but at the end of the day, the job of the government is to deliver services to people, not to make a profit.
All right. Real quick, though, let's move on to our next story. It talks about a report, basically. The report foresees interest rate hike and also talks about reductions. Basically, you've read the story, Justin. Let's quickly jump right into it.
Interest rate hike. What does it mean for us at the end of the day? So we have a 38 trillion federal fiscal debt position as at the end of September 2021. Now, when you increase interest rate, what is likely to happen, right? You will see that the markets will invariably respond. You get more inflationary pressure. People will obviously have more money to spend. Banks would be able to advance more credit, because the CRR is being reduced. The challenge typically with us in Nigeria, specifically with policy measures like this, is because the economy is so tilted to consumption and not producing. The usual levers that you would pull like this in the economy doesn't produce much of the desired effect. So we keep going around and around these kind of moves every now and then without really seeing it move the needle. So do you expect more consumption to produce higher GDP when most of that consumption is being imported? So at the end of the day, you're going to increase pressure on the forex situation that we already have. So it's a really tricky situation. I don't know that without fixing the fundamentals of becoming an industrialized, productive economy, that all of the gimmicks will work for us as they work elsewhere.
All right, thank you very much for that. I think we have a few more minutes to wrap up this side of the show. We see your messages. We'll acknowledge them as quickly as possible, but let's move on real quick.
All right, so from the Premium Times comes this story. Nigerian teacher allegedly flogs 19-month-old baby to death. This was in Delta State, where this 19-month-old baby has died after he was allegedly flogged by a teacher, Emeka Nwogbo, who was in something else that I'm sure we'll talk about at another point, paraded by the police in Asaba alongside his mother, who is the proprietor of said school. Now, Wadi, we don't have much time, so I'd love to get your take on this.
Sad story. Yeah, really sad story. My condolences to the family of the 19-month-old baby. Like the story says, they're waiting for the autopsy and then they'll carry out detailed investigation. So I guess we should just wait and find out. But if this really did happen, then it's sad. Really sad. It's a sad way to
Real quick though, a few more messages here. This one says, on the ask to strike, both parties are at fault. We're building a tertiary system that we are unwilling or unable to fund. ASU now serves only its purpose as an organization. I wish we could reimagine and rebuild this whole tertiary education system, but we are too reluctant to change. And this one says, good day guys, this NDLEA news with the alleged Super Cup is not a decoy to prevent Interpol. Is it not a decoy to prevent Interpol from extraditing him to America to face his charges? And finally, though, D from Alausa comes in to say, targets should be set for costs, but they should be a variety of targets, such as service delivery targets, customer service targets, amongst other things. Thank you so much, G. We see all your messages, and of course, we acknowledge them and we thank you for them. And don't forget, guys, in a few more minutes, it will be time for Lagos Talks 981, but you can continue the conversation on social media with our analysts. You can find Justin at justin.ej on Twitter and across all platforms. Yes.
Correct.
And also at @Ehime underscore on Twitter and also across all social media platforms as well.
Yeah.
All right. Lagos, stay with us. We're still here with you. You can use the hashtag Lagos Talks 981 to be a part of our conversation in a few more minutes.
Creating wealth through information.
Mr. C,